What's up, agency owners? Got another exciting show for you. One of my good friends from Atlanta that was actually back on the podcast the first year we've done this. And we're going to talk about building client relations so you can scale your agency faster. So let's go ahead and get into the show. Hey, Joe, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you. It's been a long time since I've been on this show.
Yeah, I mean, 7 years.
7 years.
And that was
We
perfect
haven't aged
intro
it.
on the video with the cup. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm here.
we haven't aged a bit in 7 years.
No, I've just gotten a lot more gray in my beard. A lot more gray. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
you've
I'm with
always
you.
been kind of peppered, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah, just more so.
Exactly. Well, tell everybody who you are and tell them a little bit about your background of working with agencies.
Sure. So I'm Joe Kaufman. I'm the founder and CEO of Setup, and we are marketing matchmakers, meaning that we connect brands and marketing agencies together. So from an agency perspective, what that usually means is that we connect agencies with potential clients. From a client perspective, they look at us as a search consultant or an augment of their team to help them find agencies that can fill gaps in either capacity, like they don't have enough arms and legs to do the work they need to do, or capability. They're missing some capability that an agency could fill.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, let's kind of talk about what people are listening in for is like building better relationships and and re-engaging their client year after year. Because you've worked for many agencies in the past before doing the matchmaking service. We've had a lot of those guests on from Hillmeyer to Sims and those guys. So I guess let's get into that. How can agencies build better relationships to
Yeah,
scale better?
we think a lot about that agency client relationship. And to that point, we actually do an annual marketing relationship survey. Um, Ad Age actually picked it up earlier this year, which was pretty cool. But basically, what we wanted to do is understand what the reasons are that clients look for agencies. Why do they hire agencies? What do they expect out of their agency relationships? And we also actually did an event earlier this year where we were calling it group therapy for the agency client relationship. And we had a bunch of agency people and a bunch of clients on a Zoom call, and we talked through that relationship. Um, as I mentioned before, that clients often look for agency support because of an issue with capacity or an issue with a capability that they're missing. And that survey that we do annually to understand that relationship, we ask clients, what are some of the things that matter to you in your agency partner when you're looking for a new agency partner? And the things we didn't hear, the things that came up really low on the list were things like proximity. I don't care if my agency is down the streets, particularly in the days of, pandemic. I really don't care where my agency is located physically. I don't care so much about the size of my agency. Smaller agencies can do amazing work for larger clients. I don't care so much about what awards they've won. Just
Shocker.
agencies often think awards are important. And for some clients, they really do care, but most don't care about
Well, those
awards.
clients are idiots. Did I ever
I
tell
would
you the
say,
Did I ever tell you the
no,
story of we were pitching Mellow Mushroom and and if you've ever been to their office, it's like in the middle of nowhere, and they
yeah.
were joking around about like, oh, here's a map to find our office, and like I want you to show you how I want you to show me how creative you are. So I showed up at their office in full camping gear. Like they thought I was a homeless person. And like I had like the portfolio and this back, like, and they were like, we loved it, but we're going with you mentioned it in the pre-show. I won't bash them now. So I won't bash them on the show. But they're like, we're going with so and so because they won a ton of Addy awards, and we want to win an Addy award. And I told them, I
Right.
go, I'm never eating your pizza ever again.
Right. You don't want to sell pizza. You just want to win awards.
Yeah,
Okay.
I go, I'm never
Okay.
eating your pizza.
That's a tragedy. You reminded me of a time that I wore an entire costume to the Chick-fil-A headquarters. And my goal was to not smile the entire time I was there. I was just going to be deadpan serious. Everybody was kind of pointing at me when I was walking through the lobby and walking. The women that check you in at the front desk did not think I was funny. And in fact, the client told me 2 or 3 times during the meeting to please keep my udders underneath the table. He said he found them a little bit disturbing.
What you should have done is started messing with your
uh,
udders.
I I may or may not have done that. Maybe that was the reason he said that. But I did think it would have been really fun to get some camelbacks or something and to have like chocolate milk come out of one and strawberry milk and vanilla and whatever. But
And then you could be
it
like,
never.
just tap me.
Right. But it was an innovative idea for a client. I mean,
Oh, of course.
milk dispensing cow on site. But anyway, we we found through the survey that you know those things are less important to clients, the awards, location, size, and etc. What they really care more about is some of the soft and intangible things that the client can do well, like I'm sorry, that the agency can do well, like they're looking for chemistry and relationship and transparency and good communication, and they're looking for creativity. They're not many of those things are things that are within an agency's control. And I mentioned we did an event where we asked the questions, what do you wish agencies knew? We asked clients, what do you wish agencies knew? And they said things like, we wish they were more strategic partners for us. We wish that our agency would help us navigate some of the bureaucratic red tape within our organization. We want them to act as an extension of our team. We want them to understand that not all ideas can be executed. Sometimes, agencies come with these big, lofty, creative ideas, but they're just not realistic for this client. And they wish that the agency would just understand their business better. Um, we built a series of resources for clients in our resources section of our site. And, there's a complete guide to finding a marketing agency in there. There's a scorecard in there that there's 2 versions of the scorecard. One version is if the client is trying to decide between 3 or 4 different agencies, how do you choose in a pitch kind of situation? But the other scorecard is made for agency or for clients to evaluate their agency on an ongoing basis to see if they still are feeling the love.
Yeah.
And
And what are some of those? What are some of those questions that the clients are actually looking at?
yeah, I mean, how creative is the agency? How innovative are they in terms of finding new ways of doing things? How good is their communication? How good is their project management, their service? Um, you know, how tech savvy are they? If even if they're not a technology agency or a CRM agency or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, you still want to know that they're leveraging the best tools and that kind of thing. Um, and we do it like a scorecard. I mean, they can rate each category and section and then decide, is this agency still the right one for me in the future? Um, the flip side to that conversation that we had about what clients wish agencies knew, we asked the agency people what they wish clients knew, and I'm sure some of your listeners will feel some of these things. They wish that the clients would be patient and but also answer all the questions that you ask. When an agency asks a lot of questions, it's usually to uncover some insight so that they
Yeah.
can deliver value for the client. They wish that the client would lean on the agencies for their expertise in a bigger way. They wish that the client would provide all of the crucial information up front. I think sometimes there's a hesitancy for a client to open the kimono and give you everything as an agency. But if you truly want your agency to be a partner and not a vendor, then you got to be really,
Yeah.
upfront about all of the
Yeah.
information that might be useful.
Well, you
Um,
know what? Like, I'm glad you're going over this part because if I had one of my agency clients go to me going, man, I wish they could do this. I'm like, well, hey, dumbass, they could. You're taking on the
Yeah.
wrong prospect. I did a video, I think back around when you were back on the show, and I remember it was the worst background. I looked like an Oompa Loompa in it. And the title of it was like, there's no such thing as a bad agency client. There's only a bad prospect or a bad process. And if you don't have the right qualification to check if that prospect is legit or going to be a nightmare client or is going to be good, because like you've been on so many pitches like I have, right? Including the cow udder or the camping.
That was planning for Cow Appreciation Day, so it was very appropriate to wear a cow stew
Course.
there.
Of
Right, right.
course. I mean, right? So we've been on all these pitches, and like if you can look back at when the guy was offended by your udders, right? It'd be like, you're probably not going to be a really good client for us. I don't care if you're Chick-fil-A. Like
Yeah,
I need to pick. And then the other point I think that you mentioned, you're like kind of like to sum it up, is at the end of the day, the agency needs to be the advisor.
yeah,
And you can be a really good advisor if you really get laser focused at what you're going after and having a niche or a specialization rather than a generalist and going
yeah,
after all the big brands. Like when we did that, it was just challenging. But when we started going after automotive, I could talk to Porsche, I could talk to Lotus, I could
yeah,
talk to Maserati. Like I was like, hey, I speak your language, guys. Hey, I race cars too. Like I'm one of you. So
yeah. Super cool. Yeah, it is interesting that they both sides of the equation were talking similar language though in terms of what they were looking for when it came to strategy. And I thought that was interesting that clients were saying, I wish my agency were more strategic. And then agency people were saying things like, I wish my client would let me be more strategic. So, we started that conversation like the old book from the, I guess it was the 80s or something, men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or whatever it was. And that was sort of like the agencies and clients. But the reality is, the best agency client relationships have shared goals. Do you have shared and common KPIs, key performance indicators that you're trying to achieve? And sometimes clients will give their agency skin in the game and tie their compensation to some metric that is important to the larger business. But at the end of the day, those best agency client relationships, there's no surprises. There's a high level of transparency between client and
yeah.
agency. There's some vulnerability there in terms of sharing more than you maybe should on
Mm-hmm.
purpose. And then just being super clear with expectations about, and that goes on both sides. I mean, the agency setting clear expectations and being completely transparent and candid about what they do well and what they don't do well. A big frustration for a lot of clients that we talk to is, my agency says they're good at everything, and I know that they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, they're full of shit. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's even if you have the client that like when going back to, I wish I could be more strategic and I wish you were more strategic. Well, it sounds like, if you find the right client, like it's about the communication or the process in order to show them that rather than going, you should go do this, but then you can't back it up. I'm like,
Yeah, there's a book that I've always loved since I first read it, and I recommend it to a lot of people. Is The Challenger Sale, and I think you've probably
mm-hmm,
read it. But the concept of the Challenger Sale, the biggest concept to me is you're looking for tension in the relationship. You're not looking for harmony in the relationship. A relationship, people think they want to hire a relationship builder as a sales guy, saleswoman. The reality is, a relationship builder, you could be buddies with your sales rep, but never buy anything from them. But those that really challenge, so the idea of the challenger sale in the book is you push the client, you bring them an insight that's not obvious to them, you get them to nod their head that yes, that same issue happens within my organization. And then and only then that they've nodded their head and said, yes, this happens within my organization, you can present your solution as the best or maybe the only way to solve that specific challenge or problem. And I had always been that way with clients where I was constantly, pushing them and looking for attention. And there's a fun byproduct of being a real challenger. And the byproduct is relationship. Um, because I think that the clients will appreciate that. I don't think clients hire an agency because they want order takers, usually. They hire a client, they hire an agency because there's some unmet need. We talked about capacity or capability need, and they feel that the agency could not only solve that problem, but help them think through the future and overcome challenges that they haven't even anticipated yet.
Yeah, we were talking about this in our mastermind. We were helping a member out, and they just their close rate just kept going down and down. And a lot of people were starting to focus on the end, like, how are you asking for the close? We're like, let's start in the very beginning, and how are you setting up the meeting? Like, how are you starting the meeting? Are you letting them know, like, whenever I would do a sales call, I'd be like, hey guys, like, I'm going to build rapport really quick, but I'm not going to be their friend. That friend can come later on, but if they look at me as a friend, they're never going to buy from their friend. I have to position as an advisor. And then right after I do that, I'm like, hey, I have this quick little framework I'm going to go through to make sure we stay on time and make sure I can really figure out what your biggest issue is, and so we can fix that out. Can we stay on track? And like, if you audit your process, like, start from the very beginning, a lot of times people get off track there, and then what do
Yeah.
we have happen? That prospect just won't shut up. For 40 minutes they tell you this crap story that you don't need right now. I'm being nice, but I'm like,
Yeah. Well, or even go back further. I mean, and to you kind of made this point earlier a little bit, which is, are you prospecting the right kind of opportunity? Before you even get to the meeting or the conversation, is it the right person? Back when I was at a small digital shop, when I began, my agency career, I had four criteria to determine if I wanted to pursue an opportunity. One was, do we want their logo on our logo slide? It's a brand that we just really need, we really want. Number two was, is it $100,000 in revenue and profitable for us as an agency in terms of opportunity? Third was, does it teach us a new skill that we need to have? We just don't have today. And then fourth was, are there hungry mouths to feed within the agency? And we'll take it even if it doesn't meet those three criteria, because the thing that they need is the exact thing that we have some capacity on right now.
mm-hmm.
And over time, we became we were acquired and became part of a kind of medium-sized full service agency. We went from 50 people to 250 people. And that number, that second criteria, which was $100,000, became 200, became 500,000, became a million. And by the time we sold to Publicis Group, which was, massive holding company in 2013, um, I was, if I didn't see $1 million in revenue in year one, they were too small.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just size, but it was just the commitment of, does this
Mm-hmm.
client, are they committed to marketing and working with us on a larger scale than just, we want to give you a little project here? And that doesn't mean we would never take on a project if it was a foot in the door that meant, we would get in and get an opportunity to earn the larger piece of business.
Yeah.
But we were really careful about that. We wanted to know that there was a path to $1 million in revenue in year one. And I think, setting those parameters up front, if you're talking about an agency business development standpoint, you need to have your criteria. I have an agency we work with um, that also has a PETA criteria. Do we think that the client is going to be a pain in the ass? And if the answer is yes, I don't care about any of their, like there are some red flags that sometimes occur up front, to your point, when you're first having the conversation, that the money looks attractive, but maybe you should run away.
Yeah. Trust your
And
gut.
I'll
Your gut never
yeah,
lies.
and I'll give you one other piece that you probably experienced in your days running an agency, but nothing is motivational to the team in a positive way, in a very positive way, than you're firing a PETA client. Um, if a client truly is abusive or, doesn't treat the agency like a strategic partner and treats the agency like a vendor or something like that, it's not worth the revenue. It's just not.
Exactly.
And nothing helps your team be more supportive of the overall mission of the agency than when you say, look, we won't tolerate, a client that's not supportive, not that's abusive or that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I can't agree with you more on that. I mean, we literally there was a member in the mastermind not too long ago that was doing stuff that we didn't agree that we asked to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just rallies the other people. And we're like, oh wow, they're not just taking for the money; they'll defend me. And Yeah, I think it says a lot about your company and character in that. So, well, this has all been amazing, Joe. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the audience?
I would just say that if there's an agency that's interested in growth, there are certainly we can offer some services that help growth. The four primary services can be found at setup.us/4-agencies, and I can send you a link to that. But essentially, the services are around how do you help the agency position itself for growth? How do you um, uh, really uncover insights about the agency that'll help you do that? And then we actually do help agencies grow through business development services. We call it
Perfect.
our sustainable pipeline. So
Awesome.
we do have some pretty strict criteria about the kinds of agencies that we'll take on to work with. So we're not working with really small agencies. If they've got fewer than, say, 50 full-time employees, we probably won't work with them on an ongoing, sustainable pipeline basis. But happy to have the conversation with anyone that might be interested.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Joe, for coming on the show. And everybody, go check out their website. If you have more than 50 employees and you need help, go check them out. And if you want to be around amazing agency owners on a consistent basis where they can see the gaps that you're not able to see, help you climb that mountain a lot faster, prevent those falls from crashing in the crevasses. I want you guys to go to digitalagencyelite.com. This is our exclusive mastermind for experienced agency owners. And until next time, have a swank day.